Are you ready to reset, refocus, end 2025 strong? Welcome back to the Nicola Graham Podcast. That is what we are going to be chatting about today. I cannot believe we have got to this point in the year already where I am talking about ending the year strong. I don't know about anybody else, but August bank holiday, obviously it was last weekend. It just feels as though it's such a significant point in the year. Like it just marks the end of summer. I don't know if anybody else feels like that. I've always, before having kids, we always went out on the bank holiday Monday, and it just always felt like it symbolised the end of summer. And the 1st of September always feels like such a shift in, like, it's officially autumn. I know it's not. And like, sometimes we have a really hot September actually, but does anybody else feel like that? Like, of all of the seasons in the year, the transition from summer to autumn feels so definite at this point in the year. And I want to talk about how we can go into this back end of the year and end on a high, reset, refocus, and really get after those goals that maybe you set yourself in January and maybe they got off to a flying start, and then at some point in the year, autopilot kicked in. For me, September the 1st is almost like, it's like a mini new year. I don't know, again, if anybody else feels that way. I think when you've got kids as well and they're going back to school, and so it symbolises the start of, obviously, a school year, it just feels like an opportunity. Fresh start. Before we get into the episode, 2 things. First of all, I really want to thank everybody who has taken the time to listen so far and who's taken the time to subscribe, like any of the podcasts that we've put out, send me a message on social media, which it's honestly been so rewarding to read some of the messages, because this podcast is really to deliver value. Like, the goal behind Nicola Graham Fitness and what I am building in the background, which I will talk more on, which is very exciting, but the goal behind it all is to give you the power, the knowledge, the context, the understanding, the mindset, the tools to go ahead and live a healthy, strong, fit life and be able to make good decisions and not be led by the food industry and not be led by the influencers that we see on Instagram who are telling us to bloody somersault around the gym. It's to give you the tools and also really to speak to some of those voices in your head, because we all have them. And I think sometimes we're all thinking it, we're just not saying it out loud, whatever that might be. But I want to bring that to this podcast and I want to talk about it. So thank you so much, everybody who has taken the time to reach out and who is continuing to listen and share and recommend. It really means a lot. This is officially the kickoff of season 2. I'm recording from a different location. I'm hoping that the sound quality is okay. And at the last episode that I done, we learn as we go, ladies. I had the mic on and then I put my jacket on over the mic. So the last episode, I was like, oh, do we even publish this one? But we learn as we go. It's all good. Second thing is this week's Unfiltered. So it's the 5th and Unfiltered podcast. And obviously, up until this point, a lot of what I've spoken about has just been around fitness and health. And I've got no question of a doubt that we will go into all of the other little areas of lifestyle, whether it's mindset, running a business, being a mum, all of the things that sort of, I don't know, fit the unfiltered side. But I've been kicking off each week with a little unfiltered of my own, a little nuance or a little anecdote, I should say. You know what I want to talk about this week? My little unfiltered moment to share. And there's been many from the summer. It's been packed, gorgeous time. Like, I really set the intention at the beginning of this summer to be present and to make the most of it, because running your own business, and some of you will relate to this, even if you're not running your own business, those of us even just working from home, it gives you the allowance really to work whenever, weekends, evenings, whenever you choose, which is great. There's pros and cons, but there's definitely been times when the kids have been off and I feel as though I've only been semi-present, and I always regret it. I always regret it when they go back to school, because the time goes so quickly. So at the beginning of this summer, I was so clear in my mind what I wanted, and that goes on to what I'm going to talk about, which is the fact that I have gone the entire summer without any alcohol, ladies. And you know what? This come from the back end of like the spring. We went away, and I don't really drink. Those of you that follow me on social media or have worked with me or know me, I'm not a big drinker. I've never have been. I've always been the friend who is the lightweight. So even when I get drunk, I've always been the lightweight who I'm like, I've never been able to be the big drinker, because 2-3 drinks and I'm done anyway. But we went away just before the summer, and I think it was a little bit of the people pleaser in me, if I'm being completely honest. Had a couple more drinks than I would normally. Bear in mind, I don't really drink much at all. So then to go onto a holiday and sort of like be drinking throughout the day. And anyway, I just didn't feel at my best. And I thought, and listen, I wouldn't take it back. We had a great time on that holiday, but I definitely come home and thought, okay, but I've learned a lesson there, because that wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do. I just went along with the group and the crowd, and obviously my hubby likes to have a drink, and I just didn't feel at my best. So we got to the beginning of the summer and I thought, right, okay, I'm just going to, day at a time, consciously stay super choosy around alcohol. That's what I would recommend to anybody else. Just be really choosy. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to have a drink, do you really want one? Is it, are you going to enjoy it? Is it like, even, I say this to my clients, like, because one of my clients said, she's so choosy about the wine that she will drink. She only likes red wine. She won't drink any old red wine, certain ones that she likes. And I was like, so that's being choosy, that's being selective. She wouldn't just go to the party and drink the free drink on the entrance. She's going to have the alcohol that she really enjoys. Anyway, we goes on holiday this year. And I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to do the first 48 hours, no alcohol, because I want to feel good. My reason why is obviously because I want to really experience this summer with the kids and feel my best. I don't know about anybody else, but how I feel in myself definitely impacts how I show up as a mum. It just does. Tolerance levels, patience, perseverance, everything. Just even just, the lightheartedness. When you feel good in yourself, you're so much more lighthearted, say yes to more things, able to have more fun. I don't know what it is. So that was the intention. And I just felt really good after the first 48 hours. So we'd go for a meal of a night. I'm sharing this in a bit of detail because a lot of you have reached out. I put this on social media and I've reached out and said, God, I would love to do that. I would love to be able to go on holiday or even just have a period of time where I don't drink alcohol. So one thing that I noticed is when you go out for your meals, especially on holiday, or if you eat out a lot, the waiter comes over, first thing they ask, drinks. So instantly the pressure's on, you've got to choose. Oh, do I have one or do I not? And so on the first time this happened, and hubby orders a glass of wine, and I was like, oh, and it felt like an instant, and I thought, what? Why am I feeling under pressure? I'll just shout him back over if I want a glass of wine in a minute. So I said, no, I've not made a decision yet what I want to do. I'll just sparkling water. Ordered for the kids. Anyway, ordered our food. I was quite happy on the sparkling water. I quickly realised. So that was me then. And then as the holiday went on, with that first initial drinks order, I wouldn't order a drink with the first order so that I could just give myself a minute to choose the food, settle into the restaurant, just, the way you get yourself sorted and get the kids sorted and everything else. And then, because this is the thing, so much of what we do is on autopilot. Waiter comes over, you've got this moment of indecision and it's like, yeah, go on, I'll just have a glass. Do you want a bottle? Yeah, go on, just get a bottle. And before you know it, that split decision has been made without you really giving any thought or without any awareness. So I really went into this summer with my eyes wide open and I have done the entire thing without alcohol, but without the intention to, the intention was never to be alcohol free. It hasn't felt challenging at all because I've given myself permission. If I want to have a drink, I'll have a drink. But I've just been so choosy and so consciously aware about when I do allow alcohol that I've realised that there hasn't actually been a moment when I've wanted a drink, which is a bit of self-reflection there on the podcast. But anybody who's wanting to try it out, that's how I would recommend going about it. Just one day at a time, one decision at a time. Anyway, back to business. We are talking about how are we going to reset, refocus, end this year on a high with good intentions and close out 2025 strong. I am talking about closing it out. We are still in August. I'm very aware of that. But ladies, we know how quick time passes. And if you listened to last week's very brief episode, I spoke about the importance of that first 90 days. Okay, those 90 days to sort of reset on habits, behaviors, building some non-negotiables, maybe do a bit of work on your mindset, get really clear on your goals. 90 days takes us to the end of November, which is wild, but also really good timing. Anybody who's ever worked with me will know this. I treat December as a season in itself. So the approach that I take for myself and with clients and the programming and all of that, it alters slightly in December because we want to be able to have that flexibility. This is a way of living. It's not a diet. It's not an on-off plan. So we want to be able to go into December and adapt to the festivities and to the social occasions and maybe to, the change in routine without going wildly off course. It still needs to be a part of the lifestyle. So that gives us 90 days from here. I am launching something mid to end of September. I'll touch on it slightly at the end of the episode, but it ties in perfectly to this idea. Okay, so I'm going to split this into 3 little segments this week. Number 1, I want to talk on why now is the perfect time. So I've touched on this about, September just feels like that mini new year, but I want you to really think about the energy that comes with that, because this for me this is more of a peak time even than the 1st of January, because the 1st of January, it feels so monumental because it's supposed to, because it's a date in the diary that everybody is sticking to. But realistically, how many of you, and I see this as a coach, is that those first 2-3 weeks of any new year quite challenging to get through. You know, we're getting back into routines, whether it's with school, back to work, back to the gym. The fun and games is over. The alcohol and all of the indulgence is like set in. And so it can take a while to get the ball rolling versus September. We still got the long days. We still got the sunshine out. You know, we can go into this next 90 days with vibrance and energy and a spring in our step. And I will say this to anybody who will listen. The women that I've worked with in the last couple of years who've stepped forward at this point, or even, you know what, anywhere ahead of December, have made massive progress, and it has completely altered the way they approach Christmas. And they've gone into Christmas feeling more energized, more in control, more confident, with better habits, with better understanding of what works, with higher standards, with better boundaries. Let's be honest, like we all aspire to do that every year. we set with good intentions, but the women that I've worked with who've stepped up and started now just to make those small changes, it has been groundbreaking because it hasn't felt like the close of one year and the start of another at that January 1st. We've been on the ground running. And I think this talks also to that point about like starting again Monday, starting 1st of January, starts the 1st of a new month, whenever it is. The mentality from my perspective is start now. Like the best time to start was yesterday. So second to that, it is now, like rather than waiting for the Monday. Before you know it, ladies, like if we don't start at least thinking about, okay, we're going to wrap the summer, what do we want to get out of this next quarter? If we don't start thinking about it before we know it, we will be on autopilot and we will be heading towards the back end of the year, and we'll be in the same position that we find ourselves in every single year. And so I want to talk about flipping the script on that. And it's not even like a fat loss goal or a specific number on the scales. It's how can we finish this year feeling proud and feeling energized, you know, walking into those social occasions and going to the work event and meeting up with the friends that we only see ever once a year at Christmas, and really being able to walk in the room as that woman who has followed through on everything she said she was going to. Like, you've transformed, you speak highly of yourself, you're in really good habits, you hold different boundaries, you've got, you know, you're just on a different level, and you said you were going to do it. And this is the year that actually you feel it. Like, you feel that level of confidence. Dining in the autumn is what makes the difference. Okay, removing the noise. I know I've spoken about this again on previous podcasts. You will hear me repeat myself from time to time. Because here's the thing, consistency, healthy living, like the message doesn't change. When it comes to healthy lifestyle, healthy living, the message doesn't change. You will just hear it in a different way. Removing the noise it's crucial because September's such a big month for the fitness industry. And again, I've spoken about this. It is almost like a mini new year for the fitness industry. The food industry, the gyms, the fitness influencers, those people who are, you know, selling those quick fix programs. It's a big opportunity and it preys on people's vulnerabilities, because what generally tends to happen is, well, a lot of people will follow some sort of crash diet protocol to get them to where they want to be in the summer. Then the summer happens, they gain all the weight back, they get to the end of the summer and it's time to reset, and it's that constant like vicious cycle. So September, you will see on your social media and even in the supermarket, I guarantee you will walk into them supermarkets 1st of September and everything on the end of the aisle, it'll either be Christmas, which is wild, but I'm already seeing, oh my gosh, I seen a selection box the other day, but anyway. Or it will be the high protein option, you know, whether it's the high protein bread or cereal or, you know, all of the things, because they know the industry, the supermarkets, your social media, it will all be in your face. And so we've got to get really good at blocking out the noise. We've got to get really good at understanding the reason why we want to do this, specifically where we want to get to. Not I want to lose 20 pounds by Christmas. It's got to be, I want to have by Christmas. I want to be able to look at myself in the mirror and feel confident. I want to be able to wear that dress that I bought for last Christmas that I didn't end up wearing because it didn't bloody fit. I want to have better energy. I want to be sleeping better of a night. I want to stop relying on this glass of wine that, like, Thursday to Sunday right now, I am getting home and I am using this glass of wine to help me de-stress. And I know it's keeping me stuck, but I can't get away from it. I want all of that to change. Figure out specifics, and no one can do that for you. Obviously, this is something that I help my clients with, but understanding you can do this yourself. Understanding, why does this matter to me? I want to be a smaller dress size, but why? Because I'm sick of like putting a cushion over my stomach when I sit down, or I'm pulling at my clothes, pulling at my top to sort of like cover myself up, or I'm not speaking up because I just don't actually want to be seen, because I just don't feel good in myself. Okay, perfect. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we know why it matters. And why does that matter? because I've got something to say, actually. Okay, perfect. And why does that matter? Because I want to get the promotion at work, or I want my kids to see me in a different light. So there will be a reason why it really matters to you to achieve your goals. And when we plug into that, everything else, all the other noise, it's so much easier to block out because you are so focused and you're so clear in your understanding of what matters to you. And it really helps to frame your decision making. I think this is the key part, is that when you are dialed into why it matters, it really helps support making those better decisions. Because I think when it's just a scale weight that we're chasing, we convince ourselves, don't we, like, oh, do you know what? Sod it. I'll just have the takeaway in the bottle of wine and I will be good the rest of the week and I'll pull it back, is what we tell ourselves. So technically we can manipulate the scales by doing that. But if your goal is to have good energy or to get 4 workouts in a week, let's say that's your goal. Okay, I want to get 4 workouts in a week because I know default that's going to have such an impact on mental, physical, all the other areas. Okay, that then changes the decision about the bottle of wine, because if you've got a workout in the morning, that impacts the decision that you're going to make. Staying really focused on your goal, understanding why it matters, and then being able to block out all of the shiny objects that you see on social media, endless, like on repeat, telling ourselves, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I should have done this better. I hear this all of the time. Even like, friends, clients, just women that I speak to, and they'll have done something really well, but then at the end of it, we feel the need to say, I know I should be doing this, I know I should be doing, or I know I should have been doing that anyway, or I know I should be doing better, or I know this is a classic one that I hear. I know this is nothing really to be shouting about, or I know it's not a huge win, but I'm just going to tell you this. And I'm like, why are you downplaying something that you've done well? Why are you starting off that sentence like undermining the win? Be proud. Like, share the win. There's no such thing as should be, or, I try to eliminate that. So if you ever hear me saying that, I give you full permission to pull me up on it, because there is no should when it comes to your health and your fitness. We think that we should be doing this and we think we should be doing more, but that puts us into that category then of trying to do everything. And that keeps us stuck, ladies, because we now as women, it has changed massively in the last however many years. We look at like maybe our mums when we were growing up. Like, I wasn't going to breakfast club and, staying back late after school, both parents working full-time jobs, and like lifestyle has just changed so much, and there is a lot more demand, especially from the workplace. There's a lot more demand on us. And then there's everything else that we've got to keep up with, not to mention social media. Then we're trying to fit our own goals in there somewhere and take care of ourselves and actually, hold ourselves to a higher standard than just scraping by. So we've got to reframe our version of trying to do everything, get ourselves at the top of that to-do list without any shame in that, without feeling like that is selfish, because it's the most selfless thing I believe that we can do. And I'll maybe come on to that in a bit more detail, because I know that this is what a lot of women struggle with. And what I will say is, putting yourself at the top of the to-do list is going to look different each day, because I absolutely understand the demands of life and jobs and school drop-offs. And yes, I run my own business and I work primarily from home, but like, make no mistake, before children I travelled for work, country manager for like a retail company. So 2 days of the week or 3 days on the road, a lot of time spent just in the car, in hotels. And then obviously you arrive at the destination, you're dying to move your legs, but then you've got to go straight into work. And then when I had Penelope, my eldest, when it was time to go back to work, my clientele, so I'd shifted business on, I'd shifted and made that jump to open my own business, and I was doing personal training. And I've always been that trainer who, I love the early bird. I love the women who want to get up at 6 and get after it. I will be there, Mrs. Motivator. So we gave it a go. Like, I was getting up, I was getting to the gym for 6 o'clock. Obviously, hubby, I wasn't even seeing Penelope of a morning at all. He was, taking care of all of that side of things and then getting her to where she needed to be. And so I get it. The juggle, the struggle, the bandwidth is stretched. So how we prioritise ourselves is going to look different each day. Some days it's going to look like you just managed to pay attention to the food that you put into your body. Other days it'll look like, we got up early, we got the workout in, we had our food prepped for work, we got the walk at lunch, but no 2 days are the same. But removing that need to feel like we have to do everything is so important. That is removing the noise, because that's the noise of our own internal narrative. And if you feel that you've put that pressure on yourself and it's now become an expectation of your family, for example, and I don't think it's, the wrongdoing of our partners or even our kids or even our employers. If we've allowed those boundaries to be crossed for long enough, it's up to us to put them back in place. Takes time, but I think a great place to start is just identify your non-negotiables. Get clear on your non-negotiables, 2 to 3 things that are really going to move the needle for your health and your well-being. Plug them in every day. Don't miss. You build this resilience. We build this internal resilience by showing up for ourselves in these small non-negotiable ways. And then it feels easier to build upon that. And it's practicing showing up in any way that we can and staying aware. I spoke about this quite a lot over the summer because I believe for the summer season, it's just about awareness. When we see these women and they manage to just maintain shape all year round, and it's like, how? Because we still see them socialising, they're still eating an ice cream, still having a glass of fizz at the social, the party, but they're always in shape. Like, how is that? It's awareness. They're just so much more aware. And this is something that I've really dialed into. I am so much more aware now of how I want to feel on a regular basis. And as soon as I start to even come away from feeling that way, I'll dial myself back in. I just won't let it spiral. I just will not. I refuse to let my goals, what's important to me, my energy, my mental health, I refuse to let it get out of control. That's a standard I hold for myself. And I encourage my daughters to hold themselves to high standards. They're only 7 and 4, but I believe it's a big part of what we should be learning from, as young as we can. And how can I expect them to take that on if I'm not showing them? I want them to look back and think, yeah, do you know what? Mummy always got up and got that workout in, and Mummy always took pride in how she spoke to herself. And I never heard my mum, call herself a negative word or speak unkindly to herself, or she never refused to get on a photograph. And again, I've spoken about this on a previous podcast. Some of that is from my own past experience as a kid, and just the women that I grew up around. I know how I want to represent myself for my daughters. So that's a big part of it. Practicing just showing up in any way that we can, and recognizing that not every piece of advice that you're going to be hearing on social media needs to be taken literally or to heart, because again, it's such a big month for the industry. There will be so many, do this, don't do that, eat this, remove this food, these foods are, I don't know, spiking your cortisol or whatever it is. You've just got to stay clear. Move your body on a regular basis, lift the weight, manage your stress, and eat a whole foods diet. That sounds very easy the way I'm putting that in, I'm putting that down here. Obviously, I can give you more detail on this. And again, it'll tie into what I'm going to talk about at the closing of the episode. But it really is that simple. But everything else, whether it is the new hit class at the gym that's like catching your eye, or the new so-called protein chocolate cake that seems too good to be true, or whatever it is, that's all noise. Creating a mini reset ritual can actually be really good. And this is just to keep you on course. So it's to remove that all or nothing mindset. Start the 1st of September and we're gung-ho. Then what happens when we have a day off course or we have a weekend off course and we feel like I've gone, I've gone backwards now, I've let myself down, or again, this tends to be the cycle, especially from like a mindset perspective of what keeps women stuck, is that feeling that you're letting yourself down. My take on this is that we cannot fail if we refuse to quit. Okay, you've probably seen that in some sort of meme, but let me give some context on this. So with my clients, with the women that I work with, I'm so passionate about self-talk, self-belief, self-discipline, get up and make it happen, and there's another side of that, which is we've got to be willing to give ourselves rest. We've got to be willing to set boundaries. We've got to be willing to take the best care of ourselves. Believe you me, yes, I am getting up and I'm working out and I'm eating well and I'm being super choosy around alcohol. But if I am unwell for any reason, I am also taking care of myself in the best way that I can. I'm not beating myself up because I can't get the workout, or it feels a certain kind of way, it feels uncomfortable. But if we're truly going to take care of ourselves, ladies, both ends of the spectrum have got to be in play. It can't just be, right, I'm going to learn how to be really disciplined and how to push myself as hard as possible. That's a big piece that I think is missing in a lot of people. But the ability to also care for yourself when you need to slow down is something that I think all of us could just remind ourselves on a little. The reset ritual that we have inside of our community is it's just 24 hours of no junk, no alcohol, obviously. You've got to get your steps, you've got to drink your water, you've got to hit 5 a day, you've got to strive to get protein in each meal, and you've got to go to bed. And that is your reset, and minimize screen time on that day if you can. And that is, sometimes when we just feel ourselves getting a bit out of control, and it might just be like there's been a couple of days on the run where you've had more chocolate than you would normally, or you've been picking off the kids' plate, or you've been going to bed really late and then you've been up in the night with the kids, or you've been stressed from work, and all of a sudden you just feel like it's unraveling a little bit and you can't get back on course. You're a bit all over. You're just going to put the reset in. You're just going to plug the reset in for 24 hours. There's nothing wildly elaborate there. It's just a day of, and again, sometimes we can let that spiral prolong because the thought of getting back to it, as we say in inverted commas, feels like, oh, such a chore. Whereas if you just promise yourself 24 hours, and at the end of that 24 hours, if you're still craving chocolate, then okay, the day after, go back to eating your chocolate. Because I can say that so confidently because I guarantee that after that 24-hour period, you truly will feel reset. And it's not that anything wild shifts physically, although you will reset hormonally on some level, but mentally, it's that switch that's needed that like, oh, okay, I can do this. And why was I telling myself I was out of control? I am so back in control because I've just done that for the last 24 hours and it felt a lot easier. And actually, my energy levels are slowly creeping back up now. Okay, now I'm not going to undo this now. And so and we roll forward from there. Dialing in for the rest of 2025. I'm going to close with this sort of like last little segment on how to reframe the goals. And I've spoken about earlier in the episode how to get really clear on your reason why. I've got an episode on this. I cannot remember what it's titled. I will find out, put it in the show notes. If you've got to this stage, ladies, and you know that you're in this position frequently and often, whether it's every single year, whether it's at this time every year, whether you feel as though you've constantly been in this yo-yo cycle of never really getting to where you want to be, but finding yourself so stuck that you just jump on the next program, the next 6 week, whatever. You know it's not going to be sustainable, but you tell yourself, I just need a little kickstart. Let me just get out of this little rut. Let me get a bit of weight off, and then I'll be on the ground running then, and I will be able to sustain it. But you've never have. It's always come back to same habits, same behaviors as before. I want you to really take a minute and think, have I ever given myself a moment to understand why this is important? And maybe it's not important anymore. Maybe the goal to lose the 20 pounds or whatever it is, isn't really that important. It used to be my goal, but now my goal is to feel a certain kind of way or to be able to keep up with the other women in the gym or to keep up with my kids around the park. Like, this is another piece, is that the goals can change. And sometimes we're chasing the same thing that we've always chased because we're on autopilot. So much of the time we are on autopilot, we're not giving ourselves permission to say, hang on a minute, wow, what do I actually want here? And again, episode 1, I spoke about, I know I've referred back to a lot of episodes, but it's things that I know that I've spoken about. And I think it's just when I'm referring to things, it's almost like proof of like this message doesn't change, it stays the same. And I've lived it and I can speak on this experience. And when I had my second daughter, I really got clear on what I wanted for myself, because after my first little girl, I just wanted to be able to get back in shape, basically. I just wanted to live up to the expectation that I felt was on me, but I obviously put it on myself to get back in shape, to be that fitness trainer that like just has a baby and then has got abs. Like, I don't know what was going on in my mind. I was so naive and so, what's the word? Insecure maybe. And so after having my second daughter, that was it. Like that was just not going to happen again. 2 little girls now in this world. I genuinely couldn't care less. What a look, what a way. I want to be the fittest, strongest, best version of myself. And that's the goal. And again, I've spoken about this. The transformation that came off the back of that and that focus, and that I had fire in my tummy to make that happen. And it was a mindset thing as well. Like, I wanted to be in a good frame of mind, so that I could tend to both girls in a happy, positive way, without losing my temper, without feeling tired or short or getting stressed or highly strung. And that happens to us mums, like, we know that. So that goal completely reshaped everything for me. And when I look at it on paper, I wasn't doing anything different. Both times I was eating well, doing the workout, getting the steps, but the mindset and the reason why was so different that the outcome felt so much easier. Felt so much easier. There was way less pressure and it happened so much quicker. So it can be a real positive, actually giving yourself a moment to step back and go, okay, why is this important to me? Because it might be time to even just revisit, what is that goal? But I want you to think, what was, okay, 90 days from now, let's say the 1st of December, how do I want to look? How do I want to feel? What clothes do I want to be able to wear? What energy levels do I want to have? What habits do I want to be in? How do I want to present myself when I walk into a room? Who is she? Who am I when I walk into that room? What energy, what confidence, what conversation, like, what am I bringing to the social occasions, to the networking event, to the business meet, like, whatever it is. Think how you want to hold yourself. And it's not about what others see in us. But I suppose that's an element of like, how do we want to be perceived by others? Do we want to be, oh, she's, confident, strong. She looks like she takes good care of herself. This is a compliment I love to give to other women. And again, I've said this, I think maybe somewhere along the line, maybe on a podcast or just on socials when we're at the beach, us women, how many of us relate to this? And like, I'm genuinely not looking at the men ever. I'm looking at the other women. And like when you see women who like work out, we went on holiday this year to Cyprus and there was a couple of women actually who were in such good shape. I said to one lady, I was like, wow, you look amazing. And she was like, oh, thank you. And she was telling me what she does, what type of training she does, and the work that she puts in, and she gets up at 6 a.m. And it was just a really good conversation. And then, it's funny, isn't it, how you gravitate towards women who, like with another woman in the pool, we were chatting about like our hormones and being in our 40s and, how things are starting to shift and how our tolerance levels are being tested and our poor fubbies on the other end. And I was like, it was so refreshing to have those conversations, but that really is it. I suppose and again, if you're listening to this, it might relate to you also. But that's how we want to be viewed by others. It's how we want to be able to hold ourselves. And if you're listening to this and thinking, Nick, but I'm so far away from that, whether physically you feel like you're so far away from it because of the shape that you're in, or mentally because of the way that you talk to yourself, understand that you can change. You can completely turn things around. This is the starting point. Listening to this podcast is the starting point, and you can choose to change with your next decision. You've got to stay aware of how you're speaking to yourself and the choices that you're making, and when you're saying yes and when you're saying no, and the time that you're allowing for yourself and the space that you're allowing for yourself and how you're prioritizing yourself. But it is absolutely doable. It is absolutely doable. It might, in some cases, it might take that support. It might take the accountability of a friend or a coach or whatever it might be. But that's another one. It's like creating accountability is huge. And for a lot of women, this is the missing puzzle piece, because we say, don't we, I know what I should be doing. I just need to do it. If you find yourself saying that, you're missing accountability 9 times out of 10. The other 1 time out of 10, what I tend to see is that what you feel that you should be doing was what worked for you 10 years ago, or it was what worked for you before your wedding. And so in our minds, we're like, remember that one time that I got in amazing shape for my wedding? So I know what I should be doing. I've just got to go back and do that. And it's like, oh, hang on. You've had 2 kids since then and life has changed and it's 10 years later. That's why that time in life can't be recreated. So although in our minds we think, I know what I should be doing, that might not be feasible to do right now. But the accountability piece is huge. And if you can work with a coach, of course, that is what I would advocate. I have always worked with coaches in all different areas. I honestly think it's the best money spent. If you ever see me out and about, you'll know clothes and that kind of stuff is not my thing. But I will invest. I will invest in my health. And I'll always see the benefit in that, whether it's a gym membership or a yoga class or working with the coach or whatever it is. That investment, that feeling that you get when you are truly putting back into yourself, it can't be matched. But you can also get accountability from your friends, your significant other. Let your partner know what your plans are. Let them know. Don't be timid with, I'm going to try and be good. No, that is a timid way to put it. Instead, reframe that whole narrative. You're not trying to be good. I am now actively the woman that takes better care of herself. And I know it didn't look like it yet because we haven't broke that mold, but internally things are shifting, and I'm not doing pizza Fridays anymore with a bottle of wine, babe. Like we're doing, I don't know, the chicken Greek or whatever it might be, like the healthy substitute alternative. I'm not going to be getting walked all over by the people in work, or I'm no longer going to be working till all hours, or, compromising time that I could be taking for myself. Like we've got to speak boldly about what we want for ourselves. This also takes practice. Maybe you're going to practice this. Maybe you could practice this with your hubby if he's someone who'll understand. A lot of women say to me, "Oh, I don't really want to tell my husband because he's just going to roll his eyes because he's heard me say this a million times." And then I go out and I buy a big healthy food shop and I stick to it for about a week and then I let myself down. If that is your husband, if you're listening to this and that is your hubby, listen. That's our own internal narrative. Guys are guys. They're gonna roll their eyes and have their own opinion, and they're wired differently to us. So if you want change, be adamant, be bold, and speak up for what you want. No more trying to be good. Be clear. I am making a change. And guess what? Probably gonna have some days where I eat the piece of chocolate and I have the glass of wine, and that wasn't part of the plan. And I'm not going to beat myself up about it because that's also normal. But what isn't normal is me then letting that drag out for a week because I feel it's okay to beat myself up. Instead, I'm going to get right back on course. And you're going to save this podcast if you need to listen to this pep talk again, which was not part of the show notes, but I'm going to deliver it anyway, because we need to get comfortable speaking to ourselves with a bit more grit, the way we would somebody that we love. I shall wrap this up, but I really want to just close this week's show, the end of August, the end of summer, just, with the reminder that, ladies, if you are ready to reset and refocus and close out this year strong and on a high and determined, and even if that progress is so slow, but internally you've needed it for so long, and it's where you're at. And, there's other women who you might be at the cusp of things are starting to shift hormonally. You're starting to gain weight in different areas to what you were before. We're starting to feel all of these shifts and changes. And we realize, okay, things have got to change here now. I need to look at my lifestyle. Understand that autumn does not have to be about restriction. It's just about creating clarity and being bold. Being bold on a daily basis, what we want to get out of the day, where we're going to be able to manage ourselves, filling our own cup before we so easily fill up everybody else's. So something to reflect on. If you could only focus on one goal between now and the next 90 days, what would it be? And what is stopping you? What is stopping you get after that? Think what is stopping you. And then we can, we back engineer from there, because there'll always be a way around it. But I think just giving it that little bit of extra thought and really understanding maybe what is tripping you up, what the blockers are, maybe that's going to be the point of difference. If this is speaking to you, you're listening to this, you're thinking, yeah, this is me. Check, check, check. I do not feel like I can do this on my own. Or I feel a million miles away, Nick. Or I feel like I want all of those things, but what the hell do I start with first? Ladies, I've got something really exciting launching towards the end of September. No exact release date yet, but it is designed to help women like you reset, refocus, hold that higher standard, get clarity, progress, and then really importantly, get out the other side and be able to sustain it. Lifestyle transformed. That is lifestyle, because our way of living determines the physique, determines the mindset. Like it's all part of the bigger puzzle. So I will close this here. Thank you so much for listening. As always, ladies, stay bold, stay true to what matters most to you, and let's have a solid week.